Here we are, y'all, back again. Another night, another video. Now, this week in particular, I said I was going to talk about the trades, and here we are talking about the trades. Today, I'm going to present a video to you guys that's coming from a guy who's a welder. Went through some trials and tribulations, but ultimately he figured it out. Now, I want to start by saying what I like about this man is he's going to elaborate on the hardships that he went through, the way it made him feel, and his mentality throughout this whole process, all the way from starting to the bottom to him owning his own business. And what I want us to take from this video, I really want us to have an open mind about what it is that I'm presenting you guys information wise, and just try to pass it along to someone else. But I do want to stress or emphasize the fact that I'm trying to give people enough information to understand that there are more options out there than the traditional way of going about a career and what we know about careers within itself, right? Without further ado, let's get started with the first part of the video.
I mean, I started at the bottom. I didn't even start as a welder. I started as
it all starts
as a bathroom janitor, cleaning and sweeping up after everybody, the grunt of the work. But I was determined just to stay busy and work my way up. I knew if I worked my way up, I'd eventually get where I wanted to go.
So you said you already knew you wanted to be a welder. Had you done welding in school?
Well,
or anything
no,
like
I never done any welding, actually. My inspiration from welding came from my brother's roommate, Rafael Sanchez. He built things out of metal out of his house, out of his old Victorian. He remodeled an old Victorian and used a lot of metal work, built couches, built cabinets, frames for mirrors. I was just fascinated by how he could slap metal together and build anything. I was like, wow, this guy's an artist, a metal artist. I mean, he really was.
Do you remember going in and applying for your first job? How did it go?
For my actual first welding job?
You bet. Well, that first company that you went to work out.
Oh, yeah. So, well, I wasn't really going to work there for welding. Of course, that was the main goal, but, there was no welding test right out the bat. So going in there and telling them my dream, my vision, I wanted to be this welder, thought I was going to get laughed at, but they actually took me serious and embraced me and said, well, we can't start you as a welder, but if that's your dream and vision, we can get you there. And so it was really that was the spark of like, man, somebody sees something in me. I can go and get it, So it really starts with me. I felt like I had to want it. I couldn't just go in there and just I was a salesman. I had to go in there and sell myself. So I was going in there and I was like, look, man, I work hard. I'll give you everything I got. I basically give you the next 20 years of my life if you're willing to give me a shot and teach me the ropes, and I'll climb. I'll climb hard as I can. And I just think people like that. They're like, man, this guy's willing to give us his life and climb as hard as he can. And I was willing to do anything I could just to prove myself to the world.
He said a lot in that portion of the video. And what I like about what he said is a lot like me and a lot like I believe most people, we all start somewhere. And most of the time that's at the bottom, right? But he was willing to work himself up. He was willing to put in that groundwork and establish himself as somebody that is credible, somebody that's reliable, and somebody that has a thirst for knowledge, right? He also said something that was a major point. He had to go in and sell himself. He had to make them believe. They didn't believe in him off the rip, even though he wasn't starting out at the position he wanted, or he wasn't starting out with the skill that he wanted. He was willing to take that step and put himself out there, be willing to take that first step, have an open mind, go in, work hard, and whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. He said that they were willing to give him an opportunity. So I do like that about what he said. Now, let's get to the next part of the video.
You've got to come in and sell yourself. How do you think you did that during that first job? What were your thoughts as you were talking to whoever's sitting across the table from you?
I really hadn't had much experience with this type of industry and trying to sell myself. I mean, I was just on the streets trying to sell cologne. So I was already a salesperson. I mean, my very first job was kind of like telemarketing at 17. So I was already kind of had the sales pitch in me, I felt like. And it was kind of my brother that always inspired me to be like, hey, man, life is a sales pitch. And if you can't sell yourself, then you're not going to go anywhere. So, I mean, I had this mindset. So when I was sitting across the table and I'm selling myself, it was just a shot in the dark. It's like throwing a dart, and you either got to throw it hard and try to aim precise, or you just carelessly throw it. And so I was very sharp and precise on how I threw my darts. And I was just hoping I was hitting the bullseye. And when I left every meeting, I felt like, hey, I gave it all I got. I gave it my biggest shot. I failed, I get up tomorrow and do it again.
Now, did you end up staying at that company long enough to weld?
I did. I did.
Good.
I ended up, I got a lot of crap coming into the shop being a nobody. I had to earn my reputation. I had to earn my keep. Had to show I wasn't thin skinned, so they called it, that I could hold my own weight. And the guys just can't, they just give you a hard time, in this industry. They just want to know if they could break you. And if they can't break you, well, then they want to help make you.
You bet.
And that's the truth. So once I learned that, hey, you guys can't break me, help make me, they all started extending their arms and being like, cool, well, come in on your free time and show us what you got. And that's it. I just came in, same thing, on my break time, swinging. I'm like, give me the hood, give me the stinger. I'll show you what I got. No, I sucked. I couldn't do nothing. But they were like, oh, he wants it. He wants it bad. And so that's when they're like, well, let me show you a thing or two. And so as I learned it and I progressed, I ended up figuring it out.
I'm glad he mentioned that, y'all, because I've mentioned this before in the previous video where you have to go in and you have to prove yourself. Amongst all things, you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can be as friendly as you want to be. But at a certain point, it comes down to where you have to perform. And he said he did that. Now, we can understand that it's a very male-dominated industry, welding, so to speak. And when you're going into that, like us as guys, us as fellas, we give each other a lot of crap, man, a lot of crap. But more than anything, the performance and the quality of work we do matters to us, especially when you've been doing something for a long time, right? It matters a lot. So him going in saying that he had to be thick-skinned and that people were trying to break him, not in a sense that negative why they were trying to break him, but when you're doing the job, there's going to be times where it's hot, it's cold, it's brutal. You're in terrible conditions. Your back hurts, your neck hurts, your hands cramping, and you got to continue to push through. So if people know that they can break you, they know you're not cut out for this job long term. They know you're not going to make it. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to keep pushing through. You're not going to persevere, and you're not going to rise to the occasion when the time being comes, right? So I think that's a lot about what he was talking about, that once he entered into that field, people wanted to know what he was made of. And he was able to go in there and prove himself because he didn't start out as a welder. He didn't start out at the position he wanted, but he worked his way up to that. And once people seen that, hey, he's in the kitchen, he can take the heat. Now we can throw him some ingredients and we can teach him how to start cooking. If you can relate to that analogy. I like that he said that. I like that he mentioned that. A lot of times when you get around the fellas, that's the first thing we want to see. We want to find and help you reach your breaking point. So everybody has a breaking point, right? But it's up to you to know that, and it's up to you to find those breaking points and push past them to where you may have thought this was your limit, but you've reached new heights. You see what I'm saying? By pushing those expectations and pushing those limitations, pushing past it. I like a lot that he mentioned that. And from there, we're going to skip ahead to the next part of the video.
I mean, enough that I ran some big jobs that we put in a lot of distribution piping. The different certifications, x-rays, different things like that. How would you explain that to somebody that they think welding is literally you pick up a stinger, stick a rod in it, and you start welding? To a lot of people, that's what welding is.
Yeah.
You're just joining two pieces of metal.
Yeah.
And I say just for a reason. There's a lot more to it than that.
Absolutely. There's so much to welding. People think that, you just show up, grab the stinger, and you put your hood down, you weld. They don't know the preparation it takes to prepare to make the weld, especially if it's a repair. And then, second of all, just anything it took to get to that point, to even learn how to do that welding, because every process for every different welding requires a different kind of skill and thinking. I mean, we're still reading the puddle and learning how to manipulate it, but it still, every different process will have a different type of skill and technique with it. So I talk about those because, I weld pipe, but I can weld pipe in MIG, in TIG, and in stick, uphill, downhill, in all processes. And so when I started my journey out into my business, I was just out there welding, right? And I wasn't getting a lot of hits. And I kind of called one of my mentors and I was like, hey, look, I think I know what to do. I just need to make sure I'm thinking the right thing. He says, what are you thinking? I said, I'm thinking certifications. And he goes, the only difference between you and everybody else is the certification.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, so yeah, absolutely, you're thinking right. He goes, and if you want to separate yourself from every other business out there, from Joe Schmo on the street trying to just stick glue together, you're going to have to get a certification to prove that you're worthy of what you're working for. And that's true, because if you're going to ask for a certain dollar amount, you can't just be anybody.
He hit a major point, right? Now, this guy turned from, and he'll elaborate more later on in the video. He was an employee who turned entrepreneur, right? And he mentioned some very, very essential, because I heard a lot of times like, hey man, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep doing that? What makes you want to keep going back to school? And why you want to get this and why you want to get that? It is something that separates you from everyone else. And this is why I say it. When you have a group of people who are experts in their field, 20, 30 years of knowledge in an industry, and they can all vouch for you, that speaks volumes, right? If you're talented at anything and you get amongst a group of people who are established, who have dominated the game, and all of those people can surround you and say, hey, this guy or this girl knows what they're talking about. They're proficient in it. They have mastered the basics, and now they can move forward and they can move ahead. That credibility, I believe, it can't be matched. I meet a lot of people who are self-taught. Nothing wrong with that. You can be very talented. You can be very good at what you do being self-taught. But a lot of times people will give you the benefit of the doubt if you have others who are experts or others who are already somebody and established who can vouch for you. So that's what the certifications mean to me, or a license. It's all about credibility, network, resources, other people who can speak for you. That is a major factor in life. That's something we have to keep in mind with anything we pursue. Though in deep down in your heart, you might know, like, I don't need anybody to tell me I'm good at this. I don't need anybody to tell me that I know what I'm doing. You may not, and you may be very good at it. But to a complete stranger, it's kind of suspicious and it's kind of iffy. You see, when I'm spending my money on a service and I don't know the quality of work I'm going to get, and I also don't know how well you know your job. So it is very important. Let's keep that in mind. And with that being said, let's move on to the next part of the video.
I've never witnessed anything as far as like something bad for a bad weld, because most of the guys I weld with, I felt like were doing a darn good job. I never really welded with careless welders. Everybody was held to a high standard. If they were careless, they got ran off the job. There's usually like a 3-ding rule. You get 3 strikes and you're out. And I've been on that second line, and I've been riding the fine line. Man, I get one more repair and I'm out of here. So, you can be careless to a point. And to a point, you got to be like, all right, man, shape up or they'll ship you out.
And the mental mindset has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely.
What made you want to become so good as a welder?
It is a pissing match. It really is. The best welder out there has the bragging rights. And I wouldn't say I was after bragging rights, but the people that molded me to be the welder I was, that I looked up to, were the most phenomenal welders to this day that I've ever known with. Nick Tinsley, one of my mentors, he was just the best welder I'd ever seen in all processes. He could just pick it up and dominate it left and right, both hands, just like, this is how you do it, that's how you do it. And so that was my biggest mentor on how to weld, and he just knew how to weld. And I was like, I want to be just like this guy. And still to this day, I'm not even as good as him. I'll never outshine my master. He is definitely one of the greatest.
Okay, right there, he spoke about something that not a lot of people that I hear now talk about. What the interviewer asked him was, what made you want to be the best welder? And his response obviously was the people he shadowed, his mentor. That's also something I think that's slept on nowadays too. While everybody or a lot of people might be out here searching for mentors, the thing that I took from that was that he had that hunger himself. It was already an internal battle within himself that said, I want to be the best at this. I want to get better. I want to master my craft. And I want to go out there and prove to people that I'm worthy of my time and of my effort and of their service, right? So I appreciate him for being open and honest about, the three strike rule and him being on the verge of that confession. So have I. Plenty of times in my life, I've been on that edge where it's like, hey, you skating on thin ice, and it's not purposeful. We all have bad days. We all have those times where, hey, I came up short. But that's the thing about a champion. No matter how many times you fail, you get back up, you gather your feet, and you keep going, and you make sure to never make that mistake again, right? So I appreciate him for being open and honest about that. But one thing that we have to keep in mind about that part of the video as well is that you yourself have to have that internal flame that keeps burning and grows. And whatever you need to ignite it, you need to find that, because it's got to be you saying that, hey, I want to be the best at this. I may not be the best. I may not outshine the person that's ahead of me. I might not be better than the best person here. But one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make that attempt, and I'm going to challenge myself every day to become better, to grow, to learn, to continuously progress in my field, in my career, and master my craft. All right.
And I've hired coaches. There's a lot of things we learn in the trades. There's a lot of other things we can learn to help us move ahead and get further. You talked about you already had experience in sales. Most people don't understand. You better be a daggum good salesman.
Absolutely.
I don't care what trade you're in. You better be able to.
Salesmen are the top paid world employees of the world. I feel like, like they'll take care of you. If you got a good salesman, take care of him.
If you believe in what you're selling, yes.
Well, that's it. I can't sell something I don't believe in. I have to believe in what I sell. So I believe in myself.
That was awesome as well. And he talked about the main thing. Make no doubts about it. Anybody that's in business in any way, shape, form, or fashion, we all know what it comes down to. You may not have started a business for this reason, but it will be the reason you stay in business. And that's the money side. And when it comes to money, you have to sell. Yes, you're providing a service, but sales, nothing happens without sales. And like he said, the highest paid employees or entrepreneurs are the salesmen, right? So with that being said, I've been in a lot of sales roles where it may be hybrid. I might be doing a little bit of work, I might be doing a little bit of advertising, and I might be doing a little bit of selling. But all in all, in order to keep the business going, in order to keep yourself going and sustain everything that you have, it's going to take selling something. And like he said, I'm a huge believer in this as well. I'm selling myself, especially if I'm providing a service. This is my skill. This is my reputation that's on the line. So I'm not going to let you down, and I'm not going to do a bad job. Now, how you sell that and how you package that up and present it to people may be different, but it all comes back down to the same thing. You have to be a salesman. A lot of people forget that. It's like, oh, I'm so talented. I'm so great at this, but you're not presentable. You're not able to sell yourself. You're not able to market yourself in a manner in which that people will gravitate towards it. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at that. I feel like I'm a decent speaker. I'm well groomed. I'm presentable. I'm fit, and those things matter. But it's also the value that I bring with a service I provide or within myself. Like he said, he believes in himself more than anything, so that's why he's able to sell it. I believe I'm the same way, but that's also why we have to mention preparation. If you're selling yourself and you are the product, or you have a service that you're providing and you're backing it, you have to have a certain level of preparation in order to fulfill those needs, right? But all in all, exactly what he said is going to come back down to sales. How well can you sell? If you don't have that skill about yourself, you're going to suffer a lot in business, and you're going to suffer a lot in your career. Now let's move on.
You got to have the respect, but you got to have, the cojones to ask for the respect, because a lot of people can't really muster up and ask for help. They're so self-pride. They just think they're going to go out and do it themselves. But I've never been prideful. I've been the first person to be like, I don't understand. What do you mean? I don't understand that again. Can you break it down a little dumber for me? Kindergarten style. Kindergarten style, baby. Okay, I get it. And so sometimes that's what it takes. It takes to be broken down and understand things. And for me, you know, I wouldn't say I was the quickest learner. I wasn't the fastest learner. I could learn. As long as I could find my way of learning, I could learn anything. And so these mentors, you know, as they embraced me doing that, it kind of made me just be like, okay, I have my respect for these people down, and I'll give them everything I have. And so that's to me, that's just what I wanted. That's all I wanted. And that's all my mentors taught me. Hey, look, these are the things that are going to carry you. Being respectful and doing your hard work and being honest about it. Honesty is my biggest thing too. I always tell people honesty is my best policy, because if you can't be honest with people, then you're just as good as the lies.
This is probably one of the biggest moments of the video, because this is a thing that everybody wants, but not that everybody wants to earn. Respect first. The old saying goes, you have to give respect to get it. I take the approach of you have to earn respect to get it. I was once at a leadership conference, you know, a sales conference, and this guy got on stage and he said this: the best thing you can be for your team is a great example. And I've carried that throughout my life, right? Because you lead by example. Now, for me, respect comes from carrying myself a certain way, being able to go out there and perform, and ultimately, more importantly, get the team to perform up to par as well. I believe first you have to be the example, right? There may not be the best performance, that you may be the best balanced person. Hey, I'm not the best with the hands-on skills, but I can sell. I'm good with people. I can lead. I can do the hands-on, and I'm just very well balanced. Those are different things, the different dynamics that go into it. But I believe, and that's my approach to earning respect and maintaining respect. Now, honesty is a huge thing as well. But this is something that I've also noticed. When you're in a power position, or when you're in a leadership position, or a position where you're privy to a lot of information that's not open to the public, people say lies of omission, right? Honesty is, I believe, when it comes to business, being open with people. That's always been my thing. I'm not going to tell you everything that I know, and I'm not going to tell you everything that's going on with the business, but I can be open with you about certain things. Because let's be honest, when you're in a power position, or when you're leading people, when you're managing people, telling them everything may not be the best approach, but being open, being transparent, still giving them guidance, still allowing them to be aware of what's going on, that is a major factor. Now, when it comes to personal, when it comes to just day in, day in and out things, yes, honesty is always the best policy. 100% always the best policy. Don't lie to me. I won't lie to you. I won't shortcut you. Don't shortcut me, right? Be open with me. Be honest, and everything will go smooth. I just think that's the best way to be when, like I say, when you're carrying out your daily tasks, and you're doing the day-to-day in and out things. Honesty 100% is the best policy. But that sucks to say, that doesn't mean that your employees or your boss has to know everything. Now, if it's something that's going to hurt the business, yes, everybody should be honest about that. You know, bring these things up. Hey, whether it's going to hurt their feelings or not, you have to be honest about certain things, because that's how we grow. But respect and honesty are such a big thing in business. Like I said, the reputation, the rapport, and bond you build with people, that respect that you have throughout your life and throughout your career is priceless. All right. Now let's move on.
How are you giving back? How are you mentoring to others? How are you helping the next generation learn.
It takes respect.
It takes respect. It takes learning to try to be the best.
How are you doing that?
How are you doing that these days?
Well, you know,
it all starts
with myself
first.
You know,
Having to be
in a good mindset.
in a good mindset to give back. And so
Now that I'm
now that I'm in my life where I am now, to give back from what I've learned, I feel like I do try to give back as much as I can, but I always feel like I'm reserved in a way, like I haven't given back as much as I wanted to. And so I've been amping up to really just give back in my life, because that's what I want to do. I do a lot of work for my friends. I don't charge them. They're always willing to pay me. That's kind of my way of giving back to people in my community. As far as people around me that come to me, man, I'm open arms. You're around me, you want to come to me, come and learn, I'll teach you a thing or two. On my social media, I'm flooded with questions daily. And my wife and I have, had to set a time aside at night where I can only answer for a certain amount of time, because it'll consume me, answering, all the questions. But I just give back to these questions, and I give them my full honest opinion. Some of the honest opinions they probably aren't willing to accept because it's the truth, because honesty is my best policy. But then, I started flooding out onto YouTube, and I really wanted to show these people and bring them under the hood, show them what they could do with this metal and how they can manipulate these rods. But it's going to take a team, and I'm trying to assemble a team, to really show them.
All right. Now, when it comes to the topic of mentoring, and the interviewer asked the question, how are you giving back now that you've reached a certain point? This is the thing that I believe is more important than anything. He said now that he's reached a certain point, he's taking people under the hood with him and showing them the ins and outs of the job. Make no mistake about it. No amount of books you read, videos you watch, conversations you have will ever compare to someone taking you under their wing and showing you themselves how they do it. That is something I respect the most out of any leader, out of any manager, out of any mentor, boss, anything. Because though I may be talented in a lot of areas, or I may be very talented in a certain area, when someone comes to you or brings you with them and say, hey, I'm about to show you the behind the scenes. Hey, I'm about to take you step through step on how I succeed. Now you can take that and compare it to what you do, and okay, this wasn't working, but this person does it like that, and it works for them, and they're successful at it. That's a cheat code and a life hack that most people don't have. But by him providing that, he has to understand how much of an effect that has on people, a positive effect. And I've had people do that in my current career. Not many. Let's be clear. Not many at all. I can count on a couple fingers. But it's the fact that those people were able to see something in me and see potential and say, hey, like, I like what you're doing. How about you come to this meeting? How about you come and do this with me? How about you check out this? And they're giving game and they're providing information because they see somebody like them that has the potential to be better or be just as good. And I think that's stronger than anything, because if anybody comes to me for advice or how to do something, I'm always the first person to say, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to demonstrate first. And if that doesn't work for you, then that's fine. You can figure out your own way. But I'm successful at this, and this is how I do it. And it may work for you. And hopefully, if you take what I just showed you and you apply that to what you're already successful at, hopefully you be better than I am, because that's how we keep moving forward. Now, let's skip ahead to the next part of the video.
For my potential of giving back more. So I'm trying to take a different avenue where I can give back even more, where I'm less driven away from working all the time, because even though I'm out there in the field with my guys and I'm working, they're very well skilled. Otherwise they wouldn't be working for me. There's only so much I can teach them, I feel like, but still I mentor them and I try to teach them there. Like, hey, look, this is how I pull measurements. This is how I fit in fab. And this is how I set my heat and my settings. But to me, I want to grow more in depth. I want to really take people in. I do private sessions, workshops where I bring guys in, and, I do the whole barbecue. I give them shirts. I give them hats. I try to shower them with gifts because they're invested in me. So not only do I want them to just get gifts from me, I take them in under the wing. I take them by their hand. I show them, hey, look, this is what it takes. This is the amount of pressure you're going to need. This is when you let off the pressure. This is how you strike this rod. This is when you get off out of the rod. This is how you discharge that rod. There's so much to go into welding. It's like, that's what I really am passionate about, is being right there under the hood with them, being like, yep, you're getting it. Don't stop. Keep going. Stop. Pull out. You got to really give them everything. Otherwise, it doesn't click for them. And it took a long time for it to click for me, but it took that exact thing, somebody to put their hood on, put their arm around me, and grab that stinger and show me, that's how you do it. You feel it? Okay, I'm going to let go. Got it. There it is. And that's usually what it takes. It takes somebody to just grab the hand and be like, you feel that? That's all the pressure I'm putting on it.
You bet.
And they're like, wow, it was that easy? I was like, that easy. And then they tell me I'd pay for this investment 10 more times just to learn that again.
That just gave me like such a good feeling watching. And it reminded me about a great leader that I've seen. And I'm going to be honest, like a lot of times in my career now, even though I'm older than people, because they've been doing it a lot longer than me and they have a lot more knowledge, I take a lot of things from these guys, right? And it's a certain officer who, I don't know how he does it, but he always pops up around when I'm working or when we're doing some participating events. He's always around, and he's exactly like that. Exactly like that. We did a competition, and like, though I don't really need it, it does push me harder when I have that person in my ear, like, keep going, keep going. Nah, you got it. Hey, I see you slowing down. Nah, keep going. Fight that. Fight that evil spirit. Nah, you got to keep going, man. Pushing me. Like I say, I don't need it, but it's so much of a benefit in my life when you have that. When you have that person behind you. It's like the wind beneath your wings. When you have that little extra push in life, that extra motivation, though you may have it internally, that external motivation that you get from others, that energy, it can't be matched. Like, just like this all the time, man. And I've met another guy who's a leader as well in my career field, and he does the same thing, the same exact thing. Like, hey, just giving me little pointers, giving me little gems from here time and time again, and just constantly keeping me motivated. And things like that I do appreciate, because we see things in each other where they can be like, we all have our bad days. We all have our hard days. We all have these days where we're like, man, forget this, and I'm done with it all, and I throw in the towel, I wave the white flag. But sometimes it does take that person like showing you the ropes and showing you like, hey, I'm feeling the same way too. Hey, I'm right there with you. But we got this going on. We got that going on. We can't give up. We can't let off the gas pedal. We can't stop going hard no matter what. It takes that sometimes. But I do want to say on this video, I'm always appreciative for people like that. And for him as an entrepreneur, a business owner, an employer, to be like that as a mentor, it speaks volumes. I'm just being honest. All right. Now, here we go. Gonna close out. Let's move on to the last part of the video.
But the way that you just did it, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, because we can make videos and we can show them a lot of things, but you don't get to feel it. You don't get to touch it. You don't get to understand how tight, how loose, how smooth, how easy. You don't get any of that. But you talked about your guys and the way you show them, this is how I do this, this is how I do this, this is how I do this. And I love that, because when I brought in guys to the plumbing company, I want to show them how I do leak detection, which was a big deal to me. And learning to do it right and learning to be precise about it. When did you know it was time for you to start your own business?
Well, I'll be honest. I've had it on my mind for a long time. And when the pandemic hit, I went from being the elite welder that everybody loved on the job to, hey, we got to close the doors and this is the end of the road. Sorry. To coming back to the field and being like, you're our top welder, to being like, well, you got a bad attitude today? Sorry, dude. Pack your bags, you're out of here. And it really took that for me to be like, wow, these unappreciated people. Like I can't have one, like everything I've ever given you, and I can't have one day. I can't have one day. And that's why I was like, man, if I had my own business, I could have that one day. Nobody would hold me to it. So, after I got pretty much ran off is what we called it, I started kicking the can around. I said, you know what? I can do this. I got all the tools. I got all the knowledge. Let me do this. And I was out there just like, forget it. I'm not going to go back to them. And it kind of causes a little bit of a disagreement between my wife and I. She said, this is what you seeked out to do. This is what you promised. And I said, oh yeah, absolutely.
Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, I was like,
to get it.
Yeah. And I was like, but believe this. I won't let us drown. I will keep us afloat. And I will go out there and I'll do anything I have to make sure I can provide for us. And so when the pandemic hit, it crippled a lot of people. I watched a lot of people go under. I watched a lot of business close their doors. And what did I do? I started my business in the beginning of the pandemic, or in the middle of the pandemic. And so what my saying is the pandemic didn't cripple me. The pandemic catapulted me into my destiny of where I wanted to go. It gave me an opportunity to finally be like, pick up my bags and be like, it's time to set up shop and show the world what I got now. Instead of making all the money for them companies, it's about time I make all that money. And so that's what it took. And my first year was a struggle. It was hard. A lot of just learning is what I call it. A lot of learning, a lot of sleepless nights, just determined to make it work, figure it out, because I wasn't going to give up. And that was it. My first year was hard. It was a struggle, but I did good. I did really good my first year, for just being one guy. It was just me my first year. I worked a couple friends here and there, but just little jobs. And then it wasn't until my second year that it finally worked out for me. I finally started putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Crazy question that I believe anybody who has a high level of self-belief ponders. When do you know if it's time to go on your own and start your own thing? Let me make this very clear and start by saying this. Entrepreneurship, being a business owner, is not for everybody. But when it comes to you managing other people's schedule in their life and balancing all that with yours, it's a very hard thing. You have to make some very tough decisions, right? So I would say this from me being young and watching entrepreneurs who were young, who came up and rose up in my eyes very quickly. I'm talking about 4 to 7 years and they're making top 10% money. How do you know when it's time to start your own thing? From what I've heard and observed from people, when you reach a level to where I believe, one, happiness is a very big thing, maybe the most important thing for a lot of people. Two, if you're capable of doing it on your own, hey, go out there and try it and fail and figure it out. And three, when you're no longer valued, if you're able to do this for a company on little to no resources or with minimal resources, I can very much assure you that you can do it on your own. I believe that's when you know it's time to branch off and, hey, like, I appreciate it, but I've gone as far as I can go here. I want to move on. Nothing wrong with that. And if you go out there and it works, luckily for him, it did work. It doesn't work for everybody. But I believe that not trying, that's a regret I can't live with. And I like the fact that he's so honest and he mentioned that it kind of threw a rift between him and his wife because, women want to be secure. They like the stability. You got a good job, you're crushing the game and you're doing good, like life's all right. But as a man, I do believe it's in a lot of us to have our own thing, right? So I do appreciate the fact that he spoke on entrepreneurship and that it was rough for him in the times that he started it in. But that leap of faith that he took is all you need sometimes. Granted, he had the skills to back it up, but I believe that's something also that the blue collar industry provides. You have a skill, you have a knowledge base, you have some talents, and you can go out there and provide a service just on your own until you get other people that you can raise up in this industry, and you can bring them along too for for the journey. That's a beautiful thing. Now let's finish up here. Let's go to this last part of the video.
The people don't call me unless they got a problem, and I'm just their solution. I'm just like, here, I'm help come up with a million solutions. You got a problem? Call me.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you 10 solutions. You don't like my price? I'm not offended. That's fine. Oh, you want to leave me a bad review? I'm sorry. You didn't use my service. You didn't like my price, but I got a business to run here. I'd like to fit in your budget, but sometimes I can't fit in people's budget.
I never grew up learning how to be the best, thinking I'm going to be the cheapest.
You don't grow up being the cheapest.
You don't. But I mean, there's a lot of people that they literally, they'll go out and start their business and their thought is, I'm going to set my prices so low, everybody hires me. Man, that is not a way to go in business. I never thought about being the cheapest. And I actually made a video why I'm not the cheapest plumber, or I'm not the cheapest plumber, something like that. And we went to this guy's house. We tunneled up under it. And when I crawled out, he's standing there. He said, do you mind if I tell you why I use your company? I said, no, I love that information. And he told me, he said, I watched that video. He said, and after watching that video, I knew I did not want the cheapest plumber. I wanted the best plumber because I want it done right.
Great way to end the video, guys. More recently, in my years now, cheap work will cost you more time and more money in the long run than you thought you saved. I'm a frugal guy. I make no mistake about it. I don't try to hide it. I'm very frugal. But when it comes to certain things that affect your life, when it comes to certain services that you may be acquiring or seeking out, or that you may be providing, you don't want to have a cheap approach to it. I'm not cheap about education. I'm not cheap about my supplement intake. I'm not cheap about the food that I put into my body. I'm not cheap about things that affect my life in the long run, right? Because there's like the welder man said, I gotta find his name, y'all. Sorry. But like the guy said, you don't grow being cheap. Now, affordability is different for all people. What's affordable is always different, and that's circumstantial. But cheap, when it comes to services people are providing for your everyday life, this isn't something you can be cheap about. And when it comes down to business, if you're good at what you do, if you have a very valuable product, if you're the product yourself and you're valuable, you shouldn't be cheap. If you have credibility, you have experience, you have knowledge, and you're good at what you do, you should never be cheap. I'm not saying don't be affordable, but I'm saying don't be cheap. If you see the standard in this industry is set at a certain price, and some people are way above it, some people are just above it, and you see the people that's below it, unfortunately, you can't drop low just because you need clients. Because ultimately, the perception is going to be that it's not worth what someone's paying when it comes down to value. That's what I would look at. So being cheap about things is not the way to do it in business. And like I say, when it comes down to me, I would much rather go slow and just save up the money and just work my way up to a point where I don't have to be cheap, rather than just doing something small and something on a low level, if that makes sense. I believe, just like these guys said, if you put in all these years of work, if you doing continuing education credits, you have proven yourself. Why would you lower the bar? Why would you lower your standard? Why would you lower your expectations? You see what I'm saying? It got a lot to do with manifesting, but it also has a lot to do with the value of you as a person and the value of your product. So I love what these guys are talking about, just shedding more light on different options that people may have out there to pursue these different careers. And hopefully it catches your eye or your ear and you like it. If not, hey, that's fine. But I do believe that now that I'm in this work, it is a duty of mine to go out here and provide this information to people and just show you what's out there. Okay. And with that being said, I'm in the video. We out.